Hey guys, it's Siobhan with Dukitti and Beyond. Welcome back to my channel. This video is about negative thought forms. What are they? How do we deal with them? What can they create in our lives in terms of dysfunction? And how can we balance that? So negative thought forms are any kind of a thought form that we feed energy to. So this is mental body energy, and this is directed because of or due to subconscious beliefs and fears. What we hold inside of us will resonate with a certain thought or it will not. If the thought arises and we feed it energy, it starts to take on form. Now, the thing with thought forms is that they can come and go. We can have positive thought forms, negative thought forms, and neutral thought forms. It's what we choose to focus our energy towards that creates a functional or a dysfunctional expression of our energy in the form of thought concentrated in the mental body. When we continue to feed energy to this thought, i.e. rumination, focus, repetition, and especially when we internalize that thought, feel when it's personally connected to us and we start to subjectively relate to that thought form, that's when it starts to really take on a lot of power outside of what we've already given it by creating or feeding that thought. So these thoughts are still dependent on us for energy. They don't become a thought of its own unless we feed it a lot of energy. That's a whole nother thing, and we'll talk about that in a second. But so far, these thoughts, if left to their own devices, would dissipate. However, it's when we continue to feed the energy to the thought that it starts to take on a life of its own, and it begins to ultimately attract energy to it that is of a like vibration, or which will confirm the thought in a manifested reality. So this further adds energy to the thought form to keep it alive because it becomes somewhat conscious of itself. It's not fully independent, but it's a thought and it wants to continue to exist. And so it will attract to it what will then perpetuate that thought by confirming it, by confirming our reality of that thought. So say, for example, I have a fear of people criticizing me. Now, if that was just a thought that I had, and then I went back inside and I worked with myself at a really deep level and I said, you know what? It doesn't really matter what other people think. We're confident in our message and in ourselves, and so it doesn't have to affect us. However, on the other hand, this is where a thought form can be created. If I were to continue to cycle that thought in my mind over and over and over again and start to contribute even more energy to it by not doing things that I feared doing, not acting on my authentic expression, etc. What then happens is that that thought starts to manifest more of that thought to it. So I will start to see people criticizing me, or at least perceive that people are critical. The larger the thought grows, the more energy we give to it, the more powerful it becomes, and the more it affects our daily life and our energy levels. Because when a thought is of a lower vibration and it comes from a place of separation, fear, or lack, it drains our energy rather than feeding it. So it takes our energy to uphold that thought form because it is out of alignment. If it were in alignment with us, it would be effortless to maintain it, and it would attract more energy to us to help to fuel that thought in a positive upward trajectory. It starts to manifest, it starts to influence our reality. It has an impact on our chakras and how they operate. I've seen thought forms manifest specifically in the third eye chakra, but they can really affect any of the chakras that they're related to. So for example, if I had this fear of criticism, that would relate back to the solar plexus for me in that case, because this would be connected to my self-worth and how critical I am of myself. It could affect any chakra though. So it really depends on the thought form and the person and the situation. That being said, it can impact your self-perception. It can impact your interactions with other people. It can impact how you manifest and what is mirrored back to you. By seeing the confirmation of that thought form around us, it further perpetuates that thought form because we have external proof that validates that thought. So we believe it to be true. Is it actually true? No, of course not. It is a thought form that we have fed energy to and begun to manifest in a way that is out of alignment and dysfunctional. But that doesn't mean that we see it like that. When we start to see the manifestation or the result of our thought form manifesting in the world around us, how this can show up in terms of our own perceptions, but it can also show up in other people as well. Now, here's the thing with thoughts. We're all connected. Thoughts are not necessarily ours. We always think that a thought in our head must come from us, but that's not often the case. We are receivers, we are like antennas, and we are constantly receiving signals from everything around us. We are in a constant state of flux when it comes to our vibrations and how those vibrations relate to everyone around us. The clearer we can be in our own vibration and attune our frequency to a certain dial and receive what we would like to receive that's in alignment with us, the more clear our signal will become and the less distorted it will be. Because humans are all connected and we're energetically picking up on what the others are vibrating at without really realizing it. This all happens unconsciously, but it happens nonetheless. What happens is that when we are feeding a negative thought form consistently and it starts to manifest in our reality, it's taking on quite a lot of energy. In the energy body, when I see them clairvoyantly, it will show up as what looks like either a small black orb, smoke, or even bigger when it starts to take on a kind of life of its own and it's influencing the reality of that individual in a profound or significant way. Other people can pick up on this and they start to feel that thought form unconsciously and respond to it. So say, for example, I have a fear of being criticized. Other people could then pick up on that since I'm feeding that thought consistently, and they'll pick up on that vibration or tune into that frequency, and they'll start to think, oh, I need to be critical of her, because again, it's manifesting the reality that confirms or validates the thought form and perpetuates the cycle of that thought form continuing to exist. So what do? Well, we have to realize that all of our thoughts are first and foremost transient. Secondly, that we are not our thoughts, we are the observer of our thoughts, that we are the receivers of thoughts, and we get to choose which ones we feed and which ones we release and let go. Secondly, we need to direct and focus our attention, our awareness onto what is aligned with us and what is not. And we go over all of that based on your unique soul blueprint when we do an Akashic reading, which is where we can also find out if there are negative thought forms that are influencing you, creating blocks and restrictions in your vital force energy, and draining you ultimately. So these group thoughts can be directed as well in a positive or negative way. We need to basically just do this more consciously as a collective, and that starts with what we're doing with our thoughts individually. External thought forms directed at or projected only have an impact energetically if they are allowed into your vibration, if they are allowed into your soul. Now, how does that happen? When you have a like vibration or resonant frequency. So for example, if somebody thought something negative about you, you have a subconscious fear or belief in, it will feed that thought. It will be gravitated towards you and it will become louder. The purpose of this is to bring these thoughts and these beliefs to our awareness. Catalyst needs to become louder and more apparent so that we can use that to understand what is for us and what is not at soul level, what is empowering and what is disempowering, what is functional and what is dysfunctional. The louder these things become, the more apparent they become, the easier it is for us to then redirect and choose to focus on something that is more aligned. So the keys to clearing these thought forms are, well, number one, a soul realignment Akashic record reading. That's the easiest way to do it. Number two, a Reiki session. But those require me to be involved, and I want you guys to be able to do this for yourself. So the best way to clear negative thought forms is to become aware of your thoughts. Awareness is everything. And like I say with my clients, there's 3 A's to alignment. And the first one is awareness. We have to bring them to our consciousness. We have to bring patterns and choices and dysfunctional expressions to our consciousness. Otherwise, we will continue to repeat them and they will exist as karmic patterns within our soul blueprint until they are resolved, until we learn the lesson. So we have to be mindful, we have to be aware, we have to be open to seeing things from that perspective of being the observer rather than being the thought itself. Take a little bit of a step back and separate yourself from your thoughts. Be mindful of them. Which ones do you want to contribute energy to and which ones do you not? Which ones do you want to grow so that they create and manifest in your life? And which ones do you want to set aside so that they don't have a negative impact on what you're creating and manifesting? And lastly, we need to be very intentional with our thinking and our feeling, because although these exist at the mental body level, they impact how we feel. Thoughts can become feelings. Feelings have a lot of power to them and they manifest really quickly. So, to summarize, negative thought forms are thoughts that we start to feed energy to that are out of alignment with who we are at soul level, i.e., an empowered soul. Disempowering thoughts are out of alignment. Empowering thoughts are in alignment. Being aware and mindful of our thoughts is how we can choose to be discerning with what we feed energy to and what we don't. And being responsible with our energy in how we manifest and what we create in terms of our reality is of the utmost importance. Not only because it affects us, but because we also exist within a collective of consciousness in which we are inextricably connected. If you guys have any additional questions on thought forms, and if you'd like me to go into independent negative thought forms, let me know in the comments below. If you guys are interested in working with me one-on-one via a live Skype or remote recorded reading of Akashic soul realignment or Reiki session, or for the tarot or for any spiritual guidance you might need, you can email me at services.tokittyandbeyond@gmail.com. All of the information, pricing, and my services are down below in the description box. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video if you found it useful, or if you learned something, or if you just liked it, and subscribe to my channel. Stick around for more. Thanks for your support, and thanks for watching. Bye guys.